Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Wells. I write horror, fantasy, and science fiction, and I talk about games on the internet. Today, I'm going to talk about a horror game, one of my old favorites, Nightbane from Palladium. This is it's written by C.J. Carella, published by Palladium. C.J. Carella has done a lot of my very favorite Palladium book stuff. This one came out in the 90s, kind of when White Wolf was really getting big. And everything was edgy and everything was a little angsty. And this is like a perfect hybrid of the White Wolf vampire angst gaming. That sounds offensive, but I don't mean it offensively. And then the kind of Palladium books hack and slash adventure gaming, which also sounds kind of offensive, and I don't mean it that way either. This is a game about people who have turned into monsters, or who can turn into monsters. And the default setting of the game is an event happens in what is called Dark Day. And in the original timeline of the book, that was May 7th in the year 2000. So that's now pretty old. This was back in the 90s when that was still the future. But the idea of Dark Day is that this thing happened, and now a bunch of people were very suddenly gifted slash cursed with the ability to turn into a monster. And these are the Nightbane. A Nightbane can turn into a horrific monster with incredible powers. And you have all of these amazing powers. It makes you incredibly durable. You essentially become a superhero who looks like a monster. And so you can only use these powers if you turn into one. And so you can transform back and forth. And your two sides are called the Morphous, the alien spooky monster form, and the Facade, which is your human guise. And they call it the Facade because once you are Nightbane, once you have a Morphous, technically you're not human anymore, and it's all this whole thing. So it has that same kind of vampire, the Masquerade kind of vibe to it, where you are no longer human. You are now suddenly both more and less than human, dealing with a blessing and a curse, and these incredible new powers. And then so it has all of that. It has that kind of angsty stuff. And I keep saying the word angst because that is really ground into the core of this game and that whole genre of game. And one of the examples that it gives in the book, which is I love it, and I always use it when I'm explaining this to people. Let's say you're out with a group of family or friends or coworkers or whatever. You're at lunch in a restaurant, and then all of a sudden, a monster shows up, a bad guy, something, and they're threatening people, and they're hurting people, and they might even be killing people. And you could stop it if you wanted, but you would have to turn into a monster to do so. And that group of family or friends or coworkers that knows and loves you would watch this. They would see your transformation from a normal human into, that freaky thing on the cover of the book there, or something even worse. And then what would they think of you? Would they still trust you? Would they still like you or love you or talk to you after that? How is it going to change all of your personal relationships when you manifest this Morphous? And so there's a lot of tension between the idea of being a hero but looking like a monster, and etc. And now it combines that with, like I said, the more kind of adventure gaming. This was a Palladium book. And so you use the Palladium rule set, and you either like that or you don't. It's older and it's clunkier, but it's better, be fair, than a lot of people say it is. And so it doesn't have some of the social rules and social incentives that are baked into the core of Vampire the Masquerade or something like that. What it does give you is just pile upon pile of new exciting superpowers and abilities that you can use when you turn into your Morphus and start going nuts. So it's a really interesting hybrid. It is a lot of fun to play, and it's a lot of fun even to just make characters for. And that's true, I think, of many, many RPGs. And the crunchier the system, the more fun the character creation process can be. Coming up, and so part of the idea behind the characters is that they don't call them nightmares; they're called Nightbane, but you are kind of sort of your own inner turmoil, your own dark psyche, your own nightmares manifested into the real world. And so they've got all of these options, and you can pick or you can roll randomly on the tables. And if you've got, for example, some kind of horrible disfiguring scar as part of your Morphus, you can decide, well, is that a representation of something inward? Do you have some kind of trauma in your life, or has a horrible thing happened to you, or are you trying to deal with something like that? And is that why when your inner self, your nightmare version of yourself comes out, is that why it has a scar? Or, there's lots of different things. And let's look at those right now, okay? I do want to talk about the world of the game and kind of the setting of it, but that core concept of who the Nightbane are, that's really what the game is about. And so let's look at the creation rules. There are 4 other character classes in the game besides just Nightbane, but they're the magic classes, and 2 of them are also Nightbane. There's Nightbane Mystic, Nightbane Sorcerer, and then there's regular old Human Mystic and Human Sorcerer. And so if you really want to play something other than a Nightbane, you can. But the Nightbane are cool. They're the whole point. They're the reason you're playing this game. What I have done in the past is combine Nightbane with Beyond the Supernatural, which is Palladium Books' kind of urban fantasy horror X-Files setting game. And that is, they are completely cross-compatible. That's the really great strength of Palladium Books. And so if you really want people who don't want to be a Nightbane, but you want an option other than just Sorcerer, you can combine this with Beyond the Supernatural. There's a lot of great stuff you can do. So let's take a look here. And I don't have a PDF. Actually, I think I probably do have a PDF somewhere that I stole off the internet somewhere, but I own all the books, so I guess that was my excuse when I was in college. Anyway, Nightbane tables. So you just page after page, and that freaked out my green screen, so I won't do it again. Page after page of these random tables. And so let me give you an example. The first thing you do is you roll on the appearance table, or you select what you want. And that's got things like almost human, where you have just one Nightbane characteristic, but everything else is human. There's things like inhuman but beautiful. So you have one Nightbane characteristic, but then you also roll on the unearthly beauty table. There is marred beauty, where you roll on a Nightbane characteristic, unearthly beauty, and then you roll on the stigmata table. And then they've got lycanthropes, monstrous lycanthropes, completely inhuman, totally bizarre. So, for example, the unearthly beauty table, that you have a doll. One of the options is a doll-like appearance, where your skin is unnaturally smooth, and you might decide that is plastic or porcelain or whatever. Your body temperature is inhumanly cold. Your physical beauty goes way up. If you stand perfectly still, you look like a mannequin. That whole idea. Or you might just have elfin features, slender, delicate features, physical perfection, fallen angel, where your physical beauty goes up really high, but then you also get some wings. The Nightbane characteristics table itself breaks down into a bunch of other random tables where you can have unusual facial features, like your eyes are mouths instead, and then your mouth is actually an eye. Things like that. There's the biomechanical table, where you might have part of your arms are replaced with pistons, or your legs are gone, and in their place there's a motorcycle, and you're like a motorcycle centaur. Alien creature, unnatural limbs, probably 10 or so animal form tables. In fact, it might even be more than that. Let's see: bear, amphibian, insectoid, rodent, arachnid, bat, feline, snake, avian, canine, reptilian, equine, bovine, deer. So yeah, that's like 12. And all of these options, like I said, it's pages and pages and pages of this. So if you get the canine table, there's full canine, where you're just turned into a big scary looking dog. There's were canine, where you look kind of like a werewolf. Canine humanoid, which is more like a human with a teen wolf kind of a face. Canine centauroid, where your bottom half is a dog, but then your human, instead of a neck of a dog, it's a whole torso of a human. And then you might just have a canine head. There's just so many options, option after option. The stigmata table, let me give you an idea of what's on there. You're corpse-like, or you're crisscrossed with stitches and it looks like you're a rebuilt corpse. You have nails or razor blades or broken glass sticking out of your body, and so you look like, one of the Clive Barker monsters. You're covered with barbed wire. You always have wounds that are leaking down. You have zippers that can be unzipped and expose your organs inside. There's so many just absolutely bonkers things. And the idea is that you will go through and you'll either pick those or you will roll randomly and come up with this insane appearance. And then they've got several powers. And, your appearance might bring you some powers as well. If you roll on the alien table and you get crystalline skin, then your body, converts into diamond, like Emma Frost from the X-Men, something like that. And so then you would have harder skin or maybe some armor, things like that. So your appearance will give you some powers, and then you can choose what are called Nightbane talents that can give you more powers. And then you come up with an intriguing backstory that ties it all together. Why do you have crystalline skin? What does that represent emotionally or psychologically? So that's who the Nightbane are, and that's what the Nightbane are. And now let's talk a little bit about the background to all of that and the concept of Dark Day. So there is this parallel world, this alternate version of Earth that is called the Nightlands, and it is ruled by the Night Lords. And this is also kind of sort of like a dream world. They never come right out and say this is where nightmares come from, but that's really what they hint at, and that's always how I've thought of it. And so they are horrible creatures of nightmare, and they come from an alternate version of Earth where the same cities exist, but they are, evil nightmare versions of themselves. And they actually have a whole source book of the Nightlands, and they, even this book does include some good Nightlands description of, the major cities like Chicago and things like that. And so they interact with Earth. They can pass through dreams and they can pass through mirrors. And they want to invade real Earth and take it over. And so Dark Day is this moment where they essentially kind of overlapped the two planes. It's not that they opened a portal to get from one into the other. It's just that all of these Night Lords started crossing in, and that broke down the barriers, and now they're much more fluid. And it's possible for the Nightbane to cross back and forth. The Nightbane are regular people who either had this potential innately inside of them, or they were touched in some other way by Dark Day, and all of a sudden they manifested these powers, and their nightmares became real, etc., etc. And so you've got the Night Lords who are trying to conquer the Earth, but they're trying to do it secretly. They're not just out there, with hordes of evil dogs trying to conquer the U.S. military or anything like that. What they're doing is they're putting themselves into place as politicians and as celebrities, as bankers, as executives, so that they can do essentially a soft takeover. Once they rule everything, then they are going to come out and be more overt about the fact that they are running the world. And so the Nightbane are the ones inside who are aware of what's going on and are trying to stop them. One of the things that I really love about this setting is it's actually more of a four-way war because it has vampires in it. And we talked about Vampire the Masquerade a little bit. This has all the rules for vampires, and they're the Palladium vampires, so they're a little different. But there are the Night Lords are trying to take over the world, and the vampires are trying to take over the world for different reasons. And then there is a group of what's called Lightbringers, and they might be angels or they might be, alien greys, and it's never kind of really sure what they are. But those three groups are all trying to control Earth, and the Nightbane are kind of trying to keep it in human hands. And so, because it's this big three-way, kind of four-way war, the possibility of alliances is there. And so you're fighting against everyone who wants to conquer the world, but at different times you might find it expedient to make an alliance with some vampires or with some of these weird angel things, even though they are ostensibly your enemies. And so you will team up with some vampires to fight off this particular Night Lord plot. And then, once you're done, then you might find yourself fighting against those vampires again, and maybe even allying briefly with a Night Lord or a servant of a Night Lord to stop a really powerful vampire incursion, and so on. It's the one failing of the book, in my opinion, is that it doesn't give a lot of description of the world after Dark Day itself. It goes into copious description of what the Night Lords are like and who their servants are like. There's good monster stats for all the things you're going to face. What are the tactics the Night Lords use? And all of that kind of stuff. That's all wonderful. But, for example, if Dark Day were really to happen in the world, and if a significant percentage, even if it was just like 2%, 1%, half of a percent of human beings were suddenly manifesting these incredible, weird Nightbane Morphous powers, we would know about it. It would become a thing. They would not just be one or two people in the shadows trying to fight this hidden war. It would be more known than that, and there would be people, politicians, religious groups that hate them and try to fight against them. There would be groups that support them. There would be organizations trying to help them. You don't really get that as much in something like Vampire the Masquerade, which is why I think it didn't show up in Nightbane, because in Vampire they've been around for hundreds of years, and so you get, they have become very good at hiding themselves. But in something like Dark Day, where it just comes out of nowhere and everybody starts doing it, everybody all over, there's all these Nightbanes suddenly, and people are, monsters are popping up all over the country, all over the world. You would know about it. It would be on the internet. It would be on the news. And people would start to put together the connecting the dots and saying, well, there's a rash of monsters. There is this new thing happening and we don't know what it was. And so the book doesn't really get into that. It doesn't really describe what the world would feasibly be like in the wake of Dark Day and how you could interact with people and with normals and that sort of thing. That said, that is possible to make up. It is a failing not to include it in the book, I think, but what they make possible by leaving all of that out is they give you a bunch of different campaign ideas. So you might decide to do the typical Dark Day campaign, right? You were normal people, and all of a sudden out of nowhere you have crazy powers, and go. Deal with this. Try to find allies, try to figure out what's going on, fight against the Nightbane. Done. There could also be different powers where you could maybe choose Dark Day never happens. And so instead of a bunch of Nightbane everywhere, it's more of that vampire idea where there's just a few of you and you don't really know what's going on and you don't have this wide societal change. My particular personal favorite Nightbane campaign is one they suggest called a historical campaign. Again, much like vampires, the Nightbane do not age and die. They can be killed, but they don't die of natural causes. And what that gives you is the chance to do, a historical idea, that you start in ancient Sumeria, ancient Egypt, ancient China, something like that, and then play a few sessions there, and then level up, maybe get an extra power, boost up your skills a little bit, and then play the next game in, some other period of history. Maybe you're now in Rome or Greece, and then you level up and the next period comes and you're in the Dark Ages, and then you're in the Renaissance, and then you're in the Age of Sail, and then you're in, kind of revolutionary France or England or something like that. That ability to kind of track what, you're the same character, you're the same Nightbane, but you've been around for thousands of years, and in each era of history and in each part of the world, you're a different person. You're still you, but you've taken on a new identity and you fill a different role in society, and maybe in one of them you've managed to build yourself an empire and you're a king somewhere, and then in another you're just poor and you're scrambling for food in the alleyways trying to survive because you got too greedy in the past and lost everything you had because the people rose up with pitchforks and torches. Anyway, Nightbane is a fascinating idea. And it has a lot. There's 3 or 4 really solid source books for it that add extensively to the power selection that you have and to the different appearances. This image behind me is actually art taken from the cover of the Nightbane Survival Guide, which is honestly the first purchase that I would recommend after the core book. There are several others that came first, but this is the one that has the most player options. If you are a player, you want to do this game, and you want to expand the Nightbane creation with a bunch of extra talents and a bunch of extra appearance things, the Survival Guide is the way to go. If you're a game master and you're looking into it, I would probably say Between the Shadows or Nightlands is the second book you want to get. But anyway, it's a really fun game. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It gives you, like I said, that angsty gaming and that adventure gaming in equal measure. And it can be a weird mix, but it is a lot of fun to do. And it lets your group focus on doing the part that you most want. And so you can have monster bashing, hack and slashing. You can be sad about the life. You can do a whole campaign about trying to hide your Morphus from your family and what happens when they figure it out, and all of this different stuff. There's so many possibilities, and it can be so much fun. So anyway, this is Nightbane from Palladium Books, and I think you will love it, and I think you should try it. So, thanks very much for watching this video. My name is Dan Wells. I'm an author, so you should go read my books. I am also a professional game master, so you should watch my show on Twitch. It's called Typecast RPG. Also, I can run a game for you, a session or a whole campaign. I'm a professional game master, and links to my website are in the notes, and so you can check those out. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Dan Wells, and you are awesome.